Hello and welcome to Transform After Abuse. My name is Ogo Alaku Catherine and I am your host. If you're a domestic abuse survivor out there and you want to learn how to heal, recover, and rebuild after experiencing the trauma of domestic abuse, then you want to subscribe to this channel as we do weekly videos such as this one to help you do just that. Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. Okay, we're going to be talking about setting healthy boundaries, and we have a guest speaker in the house. Her name is Kerry. She's an amazing woman. She's a life coach. She's been a counselor for several years. She's great at what she does, and she's going to be teaching us today how to set healthy boundaries. I don't know about you, but as a domestic abuse survivor, I find that I am people pleasing. I find it difficult to say no because I feel like no is some sign of rejection or some type of rejection. So I want to please people and I want to do what they want. So it somehow in turn validates me. But she's going to be teaching us that your validation is not to come from others. Okay, that you can set boundaries, healthy boundaries, and it's okay because it's not about putting you first, but it's about putting you too into the equation. It's just amazing. So who is Kerry? Kerry Ayononi is a Christian life coach. She's helped tons of women build back their self-confidence by teaching them how to set healthy boundaries. And she will be doing that today on this show, giving you tips and resources that you need to start setting boundaries so you're less stressed and you're building back your confidence. Okay, so without further ado, let's bring Kerry into the studio. All right, we have Kerry Ayononi. I am so happy that we're able to figure it out, but I'm so happy that you are here, Kerry. I was just telling our
Thank
audience
you.
about how amazing, what you do, what your work is, and how you coach women, back into confidence through learning how to set boundaries. And I'm not fully, knowledgeable in this area. I still have struggles because sometimes the lines are blurred to where I don't know where to be passive and how to be assertive and all of
hmm
those things. So I'm so glad that you took out of your busy schedule, to do this. So thank you very
Oh,
much for coming
well,
on.
thank you, and thanks for having me. I think it's such an important topic, like you're saying, especially for women who are used to doing, and and I think naturally we're
Mhm.
not really taught how to do that,
Right.
and we don't grow up learning that, and so I think it's a skill that needs some help being built and learned and improved on, and we do that as we grow and mature.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am so happy. Anyway, so we're going to start by you giving us a little background of who you are. Even though I
Okay.
did that, but you will do a better job introducing yourself. And also why you chose this line of coaching.
Okay. Well, the brief version is I have been a helper really all my life.
Mhm.
Um, I have been in ministry with my husband for about 25 years,
Mhm.
and really during that process, realized especially that even those who know and love the Lord
Right.
are often not living that abundant life that we're really promised in the Bible. John tells us that God, Jesus came to give us life and to give it more abundantly. And unfortunately, I found a lot of believers who aren't walking in that abundance
Right.
and feeling a lot of stress, a lot of heaviness, a lot of oppression. And so I felt that because God gave me that gift of joy and confidence and boldness when I came to know Him and mature in Him, it's something that I really want to share with other women, especially because I think that we naturally struggle in this area.
Yes.
And so I've been a counselor for 30 years or so. I've been a life coach now for about 10 or 12, I can't remember actually. um, and I've just naturally kind of, I think, kind of lean toward that
Mhm.
because it's in all of my dealings with women in and out of the church, in the community, the boundaries, and really living confidently, getting rid of some stress that is caused by maybe spreading ourselves too thin, not
Yeah.
being able to say no, those are the things, the topics, the worries that came up over and over. And I found that as the Lord gave me wisdom
Right.
to learn those things, that's
Hmm.
something that I just truly wanted to share with others. And so I've had lots of practice in my own life and with
Yes.
my family
Yeah.
and all the work that I do. And so that brings us, I guess, to here we are today.
Yeah, I'm glad. And yeah, talking about all the practice that you've had in your own life, sometimes it's easy to see someone else's life and think that, oh, they have a perfect life and everything is working out. But oftentimes our, would I say, this beautiful thing, this gift that we share comes out of a place of struggle. We've,
Absolutely.
done it and tried it and seen that we could survive this. So we want to share it with the world. So I'd like you to touch a little bit on that struggle, because it brings it, full circle to see that, okay, this person
Yeah.
that has gone through this challenge can, make this a beautiful thing that they can give, to the
Yeah.
world. So I'd like you to share on that too.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I basically I kind of sum up my person, my life before I knew the Lord as miserable. Even though like I had a good job, I had friends, I just was really kind of miserable. I felt stressed a lot. Um, I just felt spread out too thin, doing
Right.
too many things,
Right.
pleasing people. Felt that that was kind of my place, that I was always that helper and that caretaker and didn't really know how to get out of that.
Hmm.
And what I learned was that really in just doing what I do as a caretaker, that I'm no good to anybody else if I'm not taking care of myself.
Absolutely.
And so like we come to a point where I kind of felt like I had run dry. Like
Mm.
I wasn't taking that time to refill myself, to put those strategies into place where I could be refreshed and be refilled. And then we become empty, or we become bitter and resentful. And I was
Right.
there.
Mm.
And so I began to work on that. And then I also had I got married. I had children. It wasn't something I wanted to bring into my family. And I also had my first two children are
Mhm.
two boys with special needs. And so it was just another example of
Right.
how they required a lot of care, especially
Mhm.
when they were young. I didn't take care of myself, and if
Right.
I didn't take that time, sometimes it might only be 5 minutes. I didn't have hours when you have little ones,
Right.
but it might be a few minutes to kind of collect myself, to
Mhm.
refocus. And I had to start saying no to some things.
Mm.
I had to really reprioritize what was most important. And so through some good decisions and not so good decisions, you learn. I kind of think like I say, I win or I learn. I don't really
Mm.
lose.
Because
As long as I'm learning,
right,
then that's a win for
it
me,
is a win. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The
we
last
don't keep
repeating
sorry.
the
So
cycle. No, it's okay. I was just gonna say
absolutely.
the last thing you said when we had the chat. You said failure is not a person; it's an event. So
Right.
you don't personalize. I'm not a failure. Okay, it's just
That's
something that
right.
happened, and I really love that. I will learn as we go. So are there specifics when it comes to like setting boundaries? I know that there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
saying. People say you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot
Yes.
give from an empty place, and
Yes.
so many times, especially as a woman that have gone through domestic abuse, I was people pleasing because I had this mindset that if I gave or if I keep giving, then I'll get you to like me. Okay, because my
Right.
greatest desire was to be liked. So
Absolutely.
I saw every no to me was a rejection. So I couldn't
Mm,
stand hearing no. So I had to do everything that would be a yes. I still struggle with that, but I want to know if
yeah.
there are ways that we could, first of all, identify that a no is not rejection and why people
Mm-hmm.
pleasing is not the way to get people, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
on board with you. You don't have to make
Yeah,
people get on board with you.
absolutely. Well, I think first and foremost, I think one of the places we need to come to is the realization that we're not going to please everyone.
Absolutely.
And that even if we're the greatest person in the world, there's probably going to be some folks out there who don't like us.
Mm,
And for whatever reason. And I kind of look at that like if I'm living the life that God's called me to, if I am doing what he calls me to in the way he's called me to, then that too I have to make an account to. And so as long as I'm doing that and I'm doing what I believe I'm supposed to do, then I'm not responsible for people's reactions to me. And
wow.
so, as long as like my motives are pure and I'm behaving in a godly way, a healthy way, and then I come across folks who maybe don't appreciate something I've said or
Right.
done, then that's their issue,
Mm,
not mine.
absolutely.
But it takes practice to
Okay.
get there. We don't start there. And so sometimes I think a good question to ask ourselves is like, what's the worst thing that can happen if this person doesn't like you? Or what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you ask them for this and they say no?
No. Mm.
Because 95% of the time the worst thing that can happen is not horrible.
No, it's
And
not really. Yes.
no.
So it's
And
like
so
this
when
mental picture that we have that scares us,
yeah,
but it's not the reality of, what's going to
absolutely.
happen. Wow.
Right,
False
and it's
evidence
like,
appearing real. Fear.
yes, and when we try those new behaviors, like I always say, we're practicing. We're not
Right.
perfect. We're learning, and so we're going to make lots of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to feel comfortable to say no to someone, especially when we haven't ever done it.
Yeah.
So even though it's maybe the right thing to do for us at that time, it still feels uncomfortable. It feels awkward. And we might be thinking, "Oh my gosh, did I do the right thing?" But I think in our gut and in our, within ourself at the core of our being, we know that's the right thing. That's what we need to do to take care of ourselves.
Mm.
And then like take care of ourselves first. Remember that's me too.
Me too.
Maybe
Yeah.
not me first, but me too, that self-care piece, so that we can continue tending to the needs of those we care for and we love.
That's right.
But it's definitely a learning curve, and sometimes we just have to start small or start with one particular area.
Mm.
Um, and I think to know ahead that it's going to feel and sound awkward
Right.
or uncomfortable
Right.
until, and then what I think happens is we're like, oh, wow, like I'm not as stressed as I've been.
Yes.
I like this. And then
Yeah.
we have a little more confidence with it.
True. I think they said the greatest hindrance to progress is comfort. It's like a
Mm,
lot of people don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable, but sometimes to take that
right.
leap to the next place, you have to put up with the uncomfortable thing. And pretty
Absolutely.
soon, that uncomfortable thing will get comfortable. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So, is there, before we go to the segment where we do the one small step, so are there tools
Okay.
or resources that a person listening to this can just do to kind of give them a gauge on how to start?
Well, I would say probably there's a phenomenal book, and I know they have a website, and it's a book called Boundaries.
Okay.
And there's boundaries for everything. There's one general boundaries. That's where I actually started because I didn't know how to set boundaries for myself. It is written from a faith perspective, so it is in line with the Word of God, which is important. And then there are other books, boundaries with kids, boundaries in marriage, boundaries with all kinds of people. But that's just a great resource. And you can go on the web. There's other resources on the web that they have, and I think really also just some resources like just looking within,
Right.
being willing to kind of like reprioritize. One of the questions I ask my clients a lot is, if your calendar could talk, what would it say about you?
Mm.
Like where are
mine,
you
mine was like, what are you doing? Ah, what are you doing?
So when your calendar's yelling at you like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
something's wrong.
Something is
And
absolutely
so,
wrong. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
and
that's a good one.
we want to see margin. Like there should
Mm,
be some white spaces in our calendar.
mm,
Not everything is filled up because I find that when we're doing in general, that is often a sign that we are looking for outside validation,
mm. And
because
yeah,
we're, so invested. So to be able to do nothing, and I use that term loosely because I think as women, we rarely do nothing, but to be able to be still, to be quiet and to do nothing, um, to do that well and sit with ourselves, we kind of have to be friends with ourselves.
yeah.
We have to be enough. And that just takes some time, really getting to know ourselves,
So yeah.
getting to know our value in Christ, and then really becoming our own best friend.
Yes, I love that. And in setting priorities, I like to say that,
Yeah,
people tend to get confused about priorities too. And I like to say your guide to setting priorities has to come from your values. What is like, what
absolutely.
do you value? Okay, that is when you can set priorities based on that. That way, you're not setting priorities based on what the world is saying you should
Yes.
prioritize. Because
Yeah.
that could also be one invalidation as well. So it has to
Mm-hmm.
come from your core values. What guides you? What leads you? Where are you going? Those are
Yes.
things that you want to put into consideration when it comes to setting those priorities and setting boundaries around that. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. So, we've come to the segment where you tell our viewers one small step that they can implement today that will start
Okay.
taking them towards, setting boundaries. I love this. I want to do it right now because I need it.
Okay,
So,
so one small step. I would say, I think maybe it's not so small because it's new, but it's a small thing. I would encourage each viewer to choose one area, maybe where they're feeling stressed, and then um, find, identify that area and find one way that maybe something they can say no to. And that no doesn't have to be harsh. And sometimes it's just saying, maybe it's a request for help. But, like right now, it's a busy time of year. The beginning of the year is very busy. So maybe it's not a good time. And maybe practicing saying, I'd like to be of help, but this isn't a really good time for me.
right.
I have a lot on my plate right now, but if you want to check back in some time, I might be able to. That sounds, I think for a lot of people, it's a softer no, where it kind of helps us to feel like we want to be helpful and we want to share that and communicate that, but it's really not a good time. And just because someone else may be stressed out and so they're reaching out to you, that doesn't mean it's your problem. And I think sometimes we kind of take on too much and
Yes,
we
we do.
take on other people's problems. So maybe it's a twofold small step is one, to decide and commit to not take on someone else's issue or problem. And then to practice setting up just one boundary, one way to say no that you can feel good about and that you can begin to practice so that it goes from that uncomfortable place to feeling more comfortable. And then when I think what happens, naturally is that folks really wow, this feels good not to
Good.
be so
Yes.
stressed. I think I want to try this somewhere else too. And then
Right.
they begin to institute it more.
Oh,
But
wow.
so just one little no at a time is really a great way
Way to
to
start.
start, I think.
Yes, I agree with you. Absolutely. That is so good. Yes. Just start small. Everything is just baby steps, right? That's
Absolutely.
it.
Yep.
We just start a little, and I like how you put it, like, because sometimes it's the word no that scares us, but
Mm,
it doesn't have to come out as, no, no. It could be
right.
like how you said it, I would love to help you, but right now I am not able to, I'm not disposed, I
Yeah,
have this thing that I'm doing, and all of those things, just the way it suits you, but
absolutely.
it's like, don't take it on if you cannot take it on. So
That's
that is
right.
great. So, you have a group, right, that is coming on in January
Yes.
2020.
End of
That's what you
January. Yep.
end of January 2020. So please tell us about that.
It's going to be a boundaries group.
A boundaries group, yeah.
So,
So you're gonna
yes,
learn all about boundaries. And listen, if you
absolutely.
really don't learn boundaries, there's a lot of places that can come back and affect you. Like you were talking about self-confidence and being burnt out,
Yes.
and just not feeling appreciated because you're just doing all of these things hoping to get validation back, but
Yeah,
nobody really can give you validation. It has to
that's
come
right.
from within.
With
Terry has a lot of nuggets that she's going to be sharing with you. You have access to her, and to the resources that she's going to be giving in that group. Is there more you want to share concerning the group?
Yeah, it's going to be probably a 6 weeks group. And so we'll meet for 90 minutes each week, and then we'll have a private Facebook group so that group members can communicate and we can encourage one another, which I think is important to have a support system as we're
Right.
starting to start to enforce, when identify and enforce boundaries, and we can really just be there for each other, even though we're not there physically. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. It's a virtual group, so you can join in from anywhere in the world, really. And all the particulars will be out on my Facebook page.
Okay.
So, Kerry Iannone Coaching.
Thank you so much for spending
Thanks.
this
Thanks for
time
having
with us
me.
and coming on here to help
Yeah.
our viewers. So I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
So Carrie stepping out of the studio, you guys. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you. Have a
All right.
great day.
You too.
All right.
Bye. So you heard it from Carrie. I'm gonna put up all the details so you can get in touch with her. This was amazing, and thank you for hanging in with us. If you have questions, please send them to transformafterabuse@gmail.com so we can, reach your pain points and answer your questions and be of service to you. Okay. Remember, you are strong, you are beautiful, and you are enough. Okay. God bless you.